hopefully still have the energy from the previous session. So it was pumping. We're speaking today about FinOps and cloud cost optimization. So I'll take you to another theme than what Josh was saying on things. So we're going through cloud love, cloud breakups. So how many of you had breakups in his life before? Raise your hand. Oh, no breakups. You're all good. We're techies, so probably we have lots of these. Let's see. Office. Okay. So I'm Ibrahim. I'm a solution architect at Microsoft, specifically in Azure. So I worked before for AWS, for Red Hat, Ericsson, and Oracle. I have bachelor in computer engineering and a master's in machine learning. I usually like to work in multiple things other than my real work, which is pinging me now. So I work in cloud, Kubernetes. I host also the Kubernetes meetup here in Dallas, North Dallas. Serverless, automation, Gen AI, of course. No one does not work in Gen AI. Everyone does that. And data streaming analytics. There is a little noise. Yeah. How can I get all? Can it? It's good now? Okay. I'll hold this. Okay. So today we're speaking on multiple things on the agenda. So in the agenda, we have the FinOps, cloud migrations, well-architected framework, if you heard about that, cost optimization, modernization, and AI in the cloud. This is the agenda. Whether we will follow the agenda or not, that depends on you, on me, on the timer. So let's see. First of all, when you work on the cloud, you're gonna think of date nights. So FinOps is like budgeting for your date nights. You want the romance probably, but you don't want to scary bill at the end of the date night. So here comes FinOps. So the official definition is the practice of visibility, accountability, and unit economics across cloud spend. Great definition. Let's break it down. So what is FinOps? So in FinOps, you try to bring the finance team, the engineering, and the product team all together, sharing the ownership of your cloud deployments. You build a central enablement team. That team is responsible for cloud, the cost. And in that team, everyone is accountable. So you cannot create something and put the accountability on someone else. Everyone is responsible for the governance and for the costs of your cloud edge or for your solution specifically. Why cloud FinOps? So in cloud, when you're moving from your on-prem solutions or from your data center to the cloud, you're probably working as pay-as-you-go model, or that's usually most of us starts. And pay-as-you-go model is not rent. It's not a fixed thing that you pay every month. It scales with your usage. If you have an application that's running and luckily you have enough traffic, so that will scale and it will increase your bill at the end. Sometimes without governance, surprises can happen. In Flexera, there's still some noise. It's hitting my white ears. I'll try to go with that white noise. So the industry shows that there are from 28% to 32% of the cloud spend is wasted. In Gartner, they're showing 30%, but there are always spend, specifically in enterprises. And those spend coming from common bad practices like people do not govern costs. They don't use commitment. Commitments, we speak about reserved instances, or there is a lot in the dev test thing that they keep running on the pay-as-you-go model, running 24 hours. Need to cut that. A lot of people or a lot of companies, when they move from on-prem solutions to the cloud solution, they just oversize their VMs. Probably if you go to one developer at some point of time, it was me, ask him how much RAM and CPU you want. They will give you as much as they want. They don't want their applications to break. So with FinOps, better? Still. Okay. So in the migration, people start with lift and shift. So they put all their servers together, ship them to the cloud, and after a few months, they start seeing scary bills. The problem with that is that migrations should not just be lift and shift. So in migrations, you don't just move servers and move boxes. You may have a couch that when you move to a new apartment that does not fit. It's not just bring. I don't know why this is happening. Hey, yeah, that's. Is it better? I put this everywhere. They didn't hear. Yeah. Can you hear us now? Just tell me. Okay. So in migrations, you don't just move boxes, you don't just move servers as is. You probably didn't think about moving furniture and put it in the right place. If you're moving apartments, for example, yeah, you can pack your stuff and put it in boxes, but when you put there, maybe those things do not match. Maybe you don't have enough space for your couch. Maybe whatever thing does not fit in that new space. And if you don't think about that, you probably even didn't think about the moving cost of moving your stuff. What you're gonna do is you're gonna work on the relationship. So a lot of companies, after a few months, they will realize that, the cloud cost is high. Let's break it up. Let's move back to the on-prem. But sometimes the problem is not the cloud itself. Sometimes it's the culture that you built. It's the architecture that you have throughout the years. Hell, it's a pack for. Yeah. Sorry about this. No worries. Is it better? Huh? Can you talk a little bit now? Yeah. So. Yeah. So you gotta. This is it working? Yeah. Hello? Working? Okay. I can work without it, but I think they will miss it on the recording. I see your permit. Okay, cool. Sorry, yeah. No worries. Yeah. So you gotta work on your relationship with your cloud. As you work on your relationships in lab, you gotta work on your relationships for the cloud as well. A lot of issues can be cultural gaps. Like people used to work on-prem, they used to work on their servers. They have specific practices that they used to do. Those practices can be much better and much more efficient when you move to the cloud with transforming these. There is a lot of architecture that people maybe keep it on their servers for a long time. They didn't even tweak and get a chance to work on it. Now it's time to work on this because each part of your CPU and memory is costing you money. It's not just sitting idle for you. And maybe just running through a well-architected review could help save you and save your relationship with the cloud in that case. Anyone familiar with well-architected framework? Okay. So well-architected framework, it has a version from AWS, it has a version from Microsoft. They, I think, maybe have other versions, but both are the same. Maybe in AWS, they added another pillar, which is sustainability, but I'll skip that for now. So most probably it has 5 pillars. First one is operational excellence, how you're using automation and how you're putting your practices into more automated way. The other pillar is performance efficiency. So you go and review your applications and your deployments, making sure that they scale well. They are sized on the right place. So you're not using a 16 gig VM for an application that's using 2 gigs, for example. Third one is the reliability. And so just the arrows is just for the visualization. They don't go from one to the other. It's like a complete cycle that you keep doing multiple times and check. Reliability, you want to make sure that your application is running based on your KPIs, based on your SLAs to your customers. So you want to make sure that, for example, if you want to have your application load balance across different regions, it is already there. If one of the region is down, it's working on the other one. If that is not a requirement or it's not part of your SLA, so you may skip and cut those costs and keep running in one region and maybe choose the one that's closest to your customer, for example. Security, very obvious. You want to make sure that whomever should have access to your application does have access, and whomever does not require that is out of the picture. Lots of things in security, of course, that can be like a complete topic from the network perspective, from the authentication perspective, from multiple other things. And finally, the cost optimization, which is the part that we're talking about today. So it want to make sure that you're using the cloud as most optimized cost as possible. And that does not only fit with lift and shift, that can take you also to use new services and other things in the cloud. So quick actions, the first thing, and I'm working with some customers currently in that specific framework. So quick actions you want to check your utilization and resize. So for your VMs in the cloud, by default, all of them, they have utilization to your CPU memory, and it's showing you that on the graph. So you want to go back in time and see, do I really have my VMs utilized, let's say 80%, 70%, or most of the time it's idle and I'm just using CPU at 5%. And in that case, if that's the case, you probably need to resize. On the other perspective, I have customers complaining about some issues with their VMs. They're over-consumed. They're always on 90%. In that case, you may need to go to a higher thing or find another way, which we'll speak about later. For your production workloads that you know that they will be working for some time, it's better to use reserved instances. Reserved instances for long term can give you from 40% to 60% discounts on versus your regular pay-as-you-go. So if you know your application is in production, it has steady flow, why don't you just reserve those instances, make them available? It helps the cloud providers to forecast their usage, and it helps you to save costs. So 40% for 1 year, around approximately 40% if you're reserving this for 1 year, 60% if you're reserving that for 3 years. A lot of customers doesn't know about that, or know, but they are not sure. So if you're already in the cloud, that's one of the levers that you want to use. If you have workloads that are not that critical, they're not in production, you don't want them to run all 24/7, think about using something like spot instances, which are available at a very discounted rate. The only issue is that they can just give you a warning 10 minutes later and they put them down. So if you're running maybe some maybe model training or some batch jobs that are not critical for production, or they are not critical in time, using spot instances and maybe distribute the load across multiple spot instances. So in case of one of them is down, you're still running your jobs. That can also give you huge discounts. For your dev and test environments, you can maybe think about having schedules. If you're using some VMs or some services that are running for dev and test, you don't need these to be running 24/7 unless you're like globally scaled and you have people here, people in India, people somewhere else. And in that case, even maybe make use of having other regions for the same VMs. So for those VMs, just make sure that you put schedule, shut them down by maybe 6 or something, and bring them back up in the morning. And make it a habit to always use billing tags in your application. So you want to make sure how much this workload is taking, how much it's affecting your cost. So later on, when you have issues, you know where the root cause of those issues are coming from. The second step is optimizing your workloads. So we speak about checking utilization and resizing. A lot of VMs come with what is already loaded on them on-prem. So they may be running web application, the back-end application. Some of them even have all the 3 tiers running in one VM. I think of splitting those workloads. Splitting those workloads can make you identify where the issue is and can make you also use smaller VMs for each specific thing. You can start using load balancing technique when you split those. So you can have like a load balancer on the web application, another load balancer on the backend application, another load balancer maybe for other APIs. And those load balancing techniques can help you also with auto scaling. So it can scale each tier separately from the other through scale groups or scale sets. Start thinking about using managed services. If you're, for example, running something like SQL Server, maybe think of managed instances, SQL Server. If you're running Postgres, maybe think of something like RDS or Postgres on Azure, something like that. Things that are managed. If you're using Kubernetes, you don't just cut all the control planes and use something managed. These can help a lot. And even if they cost you some money now, but it helps you a lot on the operation side. So from the operations, from the people who are maintaining these, the engineering, the people that you want to hire, you're cutting those costs. Create ephemeral environments. If you're running tests, if you're running some experiments. Make sure that those environments are ephemeral. They will start in your CI/CD, for example, during the build. They will create the environment. They will kill the environment after the test, and you don't need to pay more for these. And finally, explore some open source alternatives. A lot of companies who are already maybe using Oracle DBs for long, maybe it's time to think about Postgres if you want to save some costs, MySQL, anything like that. Even thinking about NoSQL databases. I think I need to run a little quick. So I'll try to move quickly. The second step is the application modernization. So once you did the first step, the second step, now it's time to think of your application, refactor your application. Usually there are those 6 R's that if you're familiar with. First thing is just rehosting your application as is, replatform your application from maybe VMs or something like VMware to native solutions, refactor them, think about containerizing, or maybe rewrite your applications if that's the case, or replace them. If you can just buy something SaaS solution that can do whatever you're doing, that can also be a cost saving. And in the cloud, you don't pour all your love into one basket. For a healthy relationship and for a healthy cloud, you need to balance. So in cloud, you have different compute options from virtual machines, container functions. Balancing across these 3 can help you a lot in cost saving. You don't need to just focus on one thing. Containers, for example, can help you with scalability, can help you with having more better deployment. Functions can be even just for event-driven applications. In storage, you have now much more selections of disks that you select for versus what you have in your on-prem solutions. So now thinking about, do I really need SSDs in each and every machine, or HDDs can be helpful? Do I really need to have everything ready in the hot blob storage, or maybe think about tiering them like the archived, like all the old transactions, keep it in the cold tier, for example, and save more cost on this. In the database options, you can think about, as I mentioned, in the managed type, you can think about open source databases. You can think of NoSQL databases, which can even help you reduce more because the way that they are structured. Think about building read replicas. I know I'm running fast. We stop multiple times, so just feel free if you have any questions, just ask me after. Think of using read replicas. If your application is more read intensive, you can split through read replicas, make it more efficient, and keep the writing on just one node. Archiving. I worked with one customer who was showing me huge consumption SQL. And when we go back and check, they said, like, we have transactions for the last 7 years. And why do we keep transactions in the live database for the last 7 years? No, it's auditing. Okay, I'm not saying you to delete that. Just archive it, keep it in the backend, and let the database and indexes will perform much better. Think of, in the microservices perspective, you don't need to use one type of databases. Each microservice can have its own database. So you can mix and match from these options depending on what the application is doing, what you really want out of this application. You don't need to just stay in this relationship with the cloud just because you paid for your honeymoon. So think about having event-driven architecture. Do your application benefit from those event-driven things? It's more cost-effective solutions. It's just paying in event-driven applications. You're just paying for your outcome. You're not paying for your time. So when an event occurs, take that, store the message in a queue, and there is a function behind that got triggered from that queue. And you just pay for that small milliseconds that your function is running. And maybe that's all what you need. Maybe I have a product that's running now in one of the cloud providers. And when it's idle, it's just cost me $1 a month. So and it's using OpenAI, it's using AI, it's using databases in the back end, it's using multiple things, but it's all event-driven. Make sure to use and choose the right fit for your solution. Sometimes we as techies just go select the tools that reflects our ambition, what we want to learn, what we want to know, not what really the task is for. So you need to check something like the demand profiles, the RPO, the RTO of your solution, the team skills that you have. Do they really need to know? Do I retrain the whole people on Kubernetes, for example, to do something that's just two instances of my containers? Data gravity is one option. And once you have that, you keep assessing. It's a complete loop. So you keep assessing your business KPIs. Are we hitting the targets that the business wants from us? Are we good on the cost to value? Are we having good customer satisfaction? How's the delivery frequency? Are we able to deliver faster to the market? Are we following or complying with the compliance that we have from our customers? And at some point of time, it could be like the breakup time. That's fine. A lot of customers may move to on-prem solutions, but even with that, you can consider hybrid solutions. So some of the solutions may be fit better for your on-prem, but maybe the new applications, the new ideas that you want to make, cloud could be better. Some of the data is already reside for compliance reasons. They want them to be in your data center, but not all your applications will fit that. And in that case, cloud will be a good option. You don't need to break the cloud hard. Finally, if I have 3 more minutes, so if your relation went bad, so there are always AI agents that can help. And to run those AI agents, cloud can be a very good place to run AI agents. How many of you have GPUs running in their companies, in their on-prem data center? No one in the room. There are still companies that do have GPUs in their data center. I think unless you're like just a very big company, that's a waste of money. And unless you have like a steady consumption also. All the cloud providers that I'm aware of, they offer serverless hosting for these models. So you can host something like GPT-5 or GPT-4 or Cloud Sonnet or anything like that for free. You just get paid for the tokens in and out of this solution. You only pay for the consumed tokens. So if you're not having traffic, you're not paying anything, and you're saving yourself a lot of thousands and thousands of GPUs as a company. I know a lot of companies just running those for their HR agent bot, which like, okay, you don't need to buy complete GPU to do that. You can also use different models for different tasks. If you wanted to host all these models in your on-prem or in your data center, that's a lot of money and a lot of dedication. In the cloud, they're available. They just route the different traffic, different models to different models. And finally, you can do reservations and batches. And even if you have like steady commitment in production, for example, you can use those PTUs or reserved instances from the cloud or reserved consumption from the cloud to have like a dedicated something for you based on your consumption. Like, I'm right on time. Just 30 seconds. So I'm thinking good. I ran fast. Really, thank you for staying. I wish we could have more, but if you have any questions, let's talk about it. Thank you. Oh, so and bring it back quickly.